A dead Greek is being prepared for burial. Before the tomb is closed, someone places a tiny coin at the mouth of the body. The familiar explanation sounds simple. It is Charon's fare, payment for the ferryman who carries the dead into the underworld. But the archaeology is much stranger. Most Greek graves contain no coin at all. Some contain several, and others place them nowhere near the mouth. So what were these coins really for? A fare for the dead? The image is unforgettable, a coin for the final journey. In later Greek and Roman tradition, Charon is the grim ferryman of the dead. He waits beside the waters that separate the living world from Hades and carries souls across in his boat. If a soul needs passage, then a coin placed with the body seems to have an obvious purpose. That is the explanation most of us inherit. A small obol becomes a ticket to the underworld. And there is ancient evidence behind that idea. In Aristophanes' comedy The Frogs, first performed in 405 BCE, Dionysus is told that an old boatman will carry him across the water for a fare of 2 obols. Later, Charon demands payment when the crossing is complete. So the idea of paying the ferryman was already familiar enough in classical Athens to become part of a joke. But this is where the story becomes more interesting. The literary image is clear. The graves are not. If you enjoy discovering where famous myths meet the evidence left behind by real ancient people, share, and tell us in the comments which Greek custom or belief we should investigate next. Your support helps gods and heroes Unveiled keep exploring the ancient world beyond the simplified version. Before Charon's coin, the Greeks had been burying and cremating their dead long before coins became common. That matters because the oldest Greek ideas about death did not begin with money. In Homer, the dead still need proper funeral rites, and the boundary between the living and the dead is deeply important. But the familiar Charon who charges a coin does not dominate those early epic descriptions. The ferryman becomes much more visible later. By the 5th century BCE, Charon appears clearly in Athenian funerary art. White ground lekythoi, vessels strongly associated with burial, show him standing in his boat, waiting for the deceased beside the water. One surviving Attic lekythos from around 430 BC even shows Charon waiting for a woman and a small boy, turning the imagined crossing into an intimate family scene. At roughly the same time, coins begin appearing in some Greek graves. That timing is important. Coinage itself had become part of everyday economic life, and now a new kind of object could enter the rituals surrounding death. That does not prove that every buried coin was intended for Charon. Archaeology almost never gives us a label explaining what a family believed. But it does show that coin, burial, and the imagined journey of the dead became connected in ways that were meaningful to at least some Greek communities. The Ferryman and His Price. Who exactly was Charon? He was not Hades, and he was not a judge deciding whether his role was transportation. Ancient art often presents him not as a horned demon, but as a rough, aging boatman, bearded, plainly dressed, holding the pole or oar of his small craft. That difference matters. The terror of Charon was not that he tortured the dead. It was that he stood at a boundary the dead could not cross by themselves. The rivers of the underworld vary across ancient sources. Styx and Acheron are the names most familiar today, and Greek imagination did not produce one perfectly standardized map of Hades. The same is true of the fair. Modern retellings often say 1 obol. The Met describes the obol as the mythic fee associated with Charon, and coins of that tiny denomination circulated in classical Athens. But Aristophanes gives Dionysus a fare of 2 obols. That should warn us against treating the afterlife like a fixed price list. The important idea was not accounting precision. It was passage. A tiny object from the world of the living could accompany the dead to the edge of another realm. What archaeologists actually find. Now leave the myth and enter the cemetery. This is where the simple story begins to break apart. Archaeologists really have found coins in ancient Greek graves, including coins positioned in or near the mouth of the deceased. At some sites, a single small bronze or silver coin appears exactly where we might expect a so-called Charon's obol. But the practice was never universal. Only a minority of known Greek burials contain coins at all. And when coins do appear, they do not follow one rigid pattern. Some graves contain one coin. Some contain several. Some place the coin in the mouth or around the skull. Others place coins in the hand, beside the body, loose in the grave, or inside a vessel. The denomination also varies. Bronze coins are common, but silver and even gold examples exist. Some tombs contain coins too valuable to fit comfortably with the idea of a cheap, standardized fare. And the pattern changes by place and period. A cemetery in one Greek community may contain many examples, while another nearby population may use the custom rarely or not at all. Even within the same cemetery, one person may receive a coin while the next does not. This variation is crucial. If every coin were simply a standardized ferry ticket, we might expect the archaeological pattern to be much more consistent. Instead, what survives looks like ritual behavior, recognizable, repeated, but flexible. Different families, cities, periods, and religious traditions could give the same object different shades of meaning. Why the mouth? Then why is the coin in the mouth so famous? Because that placement creates the strongest link between the physical burial and the story of Charon. Later literary sources explicitly describe money placed at the mouth as the ferryman's payment, and archaeology has produced burials where coins were found between the teeth, on the lips, or close enough to the jaw to make that interpretation plausible. The mouth is also symbolically powerful. A coin placed there is not ordinary wealth stored for later spending. It is worth separating this from the familiar modern image of two coins laid over a dead person's eyes. That image appears in later customs and popular culture, but it should not simply be treated as the same ancient Greek rite. The strongest ancient association with Charon's fair is the coin placed in, on, or near the mouth. A coin placed there is a deliberately final object positioned at the boundary of the body itself. The dead no longer speak, eat, or bargain, yet the family can still place something there on their behalf. That does not mean every coin near a skull had exactly the same meaning. Soil movement, decomposition, later disturbance, and different funerary customs complicate interpretation. It does mean that the famous image was not invented from nothing. Some ancient Greeks really did send the dead away with a coin at the mouth, but not all of them. What happened without the coin? Popular retellings often make the consequence sound terrifying. No coin, no crossing, and the soul is stranded forever on the wrong shore. Ancient literature certainly develops stories in which proper burial and passage matter enormously. The unburied dead can be imagined as restless, excluded, or unable to reach where they belong. Ancient Greek religion had no single scripture and no single official doctrine of the afterlife. Beliefs changed across centuries and communities. Mystery cults offered different hopes. Poets contradicted one another. Artists emphasized different scenes. And most Greek graves, as far as archaeology can tell, were not furnished with a Charon coin. That fact alone tells us that countless families buried their dead without believing that one missing piece of metal automatically doomed the soul. The coin was meaningful. It was not a compulsory passport issued by a standardized Greek religion, more than a ferry ticket. So what else could a burial coin mean? This is where archaeology becomes both frustrating and fascinating. A coin could represent Charon's fair. It could also function more broadly as provision for a journey, a protective object, a token of status, a personal possession, an offering, or a ritual gift whose exact meaning is now lost. And those possibilities do not have to exclude one another. Rituals often carry several meanings at the same time. Think about the other objects Greeks placed with the dead: pottery, oil vessels, jewelry, wreaths, weapons in some contexts, and objects connected to identity or remembrance. The grave was not simply storage. It was a final act performed by the living. That is why the phrase Charon's obol is useful but dangerous. Modern archaeologists use it as convenient shorthand, but the label can sound more certain than the evidence really is. A coin found in a grave is a fact. The exact thought in the mind of the person who placed it there is an interpretation. The phrase gives us a memorable name for a real ancient practice, yet it can tempt us to explain every funerary coin with a single myth. The evidence asks us to be more patient. Sometimes the coin probably was a fare for the ferryman. Sometimes we simply do not know why this tiny coin still matters. A tiny coin survives because metal lasts. The hands that placed it are gone. The words spoken at the grave are gone. The exact beliefs of that family may be gone, but the object remains. And that is what makes Charon's obol so powerful. It sits at the meeting point between mythology and ordinary human grief. The myth gives the dead a river to cross. The ritual gives the living something they can physically do. Even today, people leave flowers, letters, photographs, medals, stones, or small personal objects at graves and memorials. Those customs are not the same as Charon's obol, and they do not need to descend from it to reveal something similar about us. When death creates a journey we cannot follow, objects become gestures. They say, "Take this with you. Remember this." You are not leaving empty-handed. So why did ancient Greeks put coins with the dead? For some, almost certainly, it was connected to the journey with Charon. For others, the meaning may have been wider, more local, or more personal. The most accurate answer is also the most human one. The coin was never just money. It was something the living could place in the hands of death. If this changed the way you picture the Greek underworld, like the video, share it with someone who loves ancient history, and tell us what you want us to explore next. Gods and Heroes Unveiled will keep following the myths, objects, and beliefs that reveal how the ancient Greeks understood the world around them.